Okay, I'm gonna do my best to like sort of explain this assignment in a short way. So, um, you're looking at the role of science through history. So, what has been the role of science up until this point? Not like what it should be or what it could be, but like what has happened. So, I've got three categories: the good, like the good that science has done for humanity, the bad, so some not so great things. I want to emphasize here that the bad category, all the people involved, all the scientists involved in those really horrible atrocities, some of them, um, all those people justified their actions, right? Like, so for them, like their goggles that they were wearing looked at that decision as being morally right. Really great example is vaccine trials. So back in the 70s, it was really common for vaccine trials to be done on wards of the state. So kids that had been taken away from their families for like all kinds of reasons, kids that needed like mental health. Obviously, like the 70s institutionalized health system was not awesome. It was like super overcrowded, really poor hygiene, and all kinds of awful things. But the vaccine trials were done on those children, and it was not because just that there was no parents that they could that could get in the way, or that they were a vulnerable population, but the justification was that those children were more often susceptible to the diseases and died because of those diseases that were being cured through these vaccines. So even though it was, in hindsight and from a different goggle perspective, morally awful, the people who were doing those trials justified it from a moral standpoint. So I want you to keep that in mind because I think it's really important to know that like all of us wear those goggles and to be kind of self-aware, that we can make these decisions that might not be good. And so getting other perspectives is super important. Anyway, that was a little bit of an aside. The third category is the questionable. So those things that like maybe we got something really good out of that scientific discovery, but there was like an unintended consequence that was awful. Or maybe the reason why the scientific discovery happened was really horrible, like war, but the outcome following that was really good for humanity. And then there are all kinds of like things that are questionable, and you don't know like what right and what wrong is. So like was the agricultural revolution of human species like ultimately good or ultimately bad? I think it depends on your standpoint and how you're looking at things. There might not be there is not an answer, a right answer. So I have you picking. I'm going to make another video. That's the general overview. Stay tuned.